What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the BlockHash podcast. Happy Friday. Today we have on Seb. He is the CEO and founder of Sophon, discussing how they are creating an on-chain entertainment platform with simple and seamless interactive experiences. Have some exciting topics to discuss today in regards to Sophon, in regards to zkTLS, a little bit about AI agents, benefits for users, developers, and overall what their experience is like. Seb, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on, man. How you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure's all mine. I guess to kick it off, people would probably be very interested in learning a little bit about your background. Everyone has a wonderful and interesting story on how they got into the Web3 industry. So would love to hear your story as well, and maybe how that kind of led into Sophon as well.
My journey in crypto started in 2017. I guess like quite a lot of builders, and I was involved in that cycle. Kind of buying some tokens, discovering it, and then when that cycle ended, I didn't really make or lose any money, and I kind of lost interest and stuff. Right, that was a bear market where there was not that many things that you could build yet. This was before DeFi summer. And I lost interest. And at the time, I was working in a private bank in Switzerland, which is where I'm from, one of the largest private banks in the world, actually. And my job was to evaluate different asset managers that the bank worked with, and then build portfolios around that. And at the time, the bank started looking at crypto asset managers. This was the very beginning of people wanting to have exposure to BTC or ETH. Um, and I was like, okay, this is something that I could actually own. So I asked them if I could be responsible for all that research. And they said yes. And at the time, I was quite young, but I had a lot of interest in it. So they gave me that opportunity. And for the next couple of years, like 2018, 2019, I pretty much met with all the asset managers, hedge funds that were doing crypto related stuff in Europe. It wasn't a very big pool of people, but I met all those folks. And towards the end of 2019, I was like, okay, I definitely want to make this something that I do full time. And being in a bank is not really the right place to do it. So I decided to quit. I quit without really having a plan, but I just thought I've got to get out of the banking system and into the crypto system. And that was actually just before COVID hit. So it was both good and bad timing, I guess. And so around beginning of 2020, COVID hits, everybody's home, no job for me, and I dive into crypto, into DeFi, and DeFi summer happens. Steep learning curve, but super fun. And then I figured that I wanted to join a network. I thought that was kind of like the most fun thing to do if I wanted to work in this space. So I joined a blockchain called Nervos Network, which not many people will remember, but it was a multi-layer blockchain that was using um, the same standard as Bitcoin, UTXO, and then you could build these different layers on top of it. And I was responsible for DeFi there, and worked on that for a bit. And then 2022, I really wanted to get back into the Ethereum ecosystem, right? Because I figured that's where like the most innovation is happening, where most of the builders are. So I started looking at it again, and I figured, okay, layer twos are popping up. Layer twos are going to be important, and all the ZK stuff was just starting to get funded and built, right? I was like, okay, I should go work for a ZK rollup because that looks like what's going to be hot in the future. And I was introduced to someone at ZK Sync at Matter Labs, and they hired me to be their head of DeFi, and that was an amazing role, an amazing opportunity. And I worked there for around 2 years, and then just about a year ago, I decided, okay, now's the time to leave. ZK Sync had been built, had been shipped, and they were commoditizing their code base, similar to how Optimism have the OP stack, and you can build, base on, etc. ZK Sync built the ZK stack. And I was like, okay, great. I can now take this tech stack that I know intimately well. I know the tech, I know the systems, etc., and I can build my own business on top. And the desire to do that came because a lot of these generalized L2s, they're very neutral. They need to be credibly neutral towards Ethereum. They don't show a lot of preference towards builders that they work with. They don't really have like a specific soul or like identity that they're trying to go after. They just want to be general. And I thought, okay, that didn't make sense to me. To me, what made sense is focusing on a particular part of a market that I thought was interesting, and then being very, very business driven for this, right? And my thesis was most of the people in crypto now are early adopters of crypto. We've gotten most of those folks online or on chain, right? And the next wave of people we're going to get on chain, they're not necessarily tech friendly or early adopters, right? Otherwise, they would already be using crypto. And those people behave completely differently with technology. So the idea was, let's study how general population experiences tech, experiences tech design, tech products, tech platforms, and how can we move that into the crypto sense, right? Because in crypto, we don't pay a lot of attention to design, to product, to UI, to UX in like a globalized sense. And focusing on verticals that I think general population like, which is entertainment, gaming, social, arts, cultures, different things around this. And that's how the idea for Sophon came up, and the rest is history.
Nice, man. Yeah, you mentioned identity and you mentioned a couple important key factors there that I think really make it hard for sometimes individuals in this space and even those outside the space as users with UI and UX and being able to really, I think, interface with the technology and use it properly. Is that something that's maybe a key component of your guys' identity, making things more easy and seamless, as well as functionality for users? Or what would you say is the core identity or mission for Sophon?
The most important thing for us, like our mission in a way, and also what I think is a huge opportunity in crypto in general, is reverse engineering the way that people use tech at the moment. Most crypto projects or companies are engineering led, so they build very good engineering, very good infrastructure, and then they slap a product or like a platform on top of it, and people use it, right? But I wanted to do things the other way around. I wanted to build product first, like have a product-led company that engineering responded to, and that leveraged all of the infrastructure that we had. The ZK stack offered a lot of infrastructure that we could leverage to improve UX, UI, design, and like just general user experiences. And so for us, that's the mission, and that's the opportunity: is study and understand how general consumers function, because that's like the biggest uh, addressable market right now, right? That's not really explored by crypto, and figure out how to get those people on chain.
Yeah, speaking about those people, what would you say are maybe some of the main benefits or reasons for why users would come to Sophon?
Yeah. So it's again, it's the very empathetic attitude that we have towards the end user, right? Knowing that most people don't want to have the responsibility of like storing their keys. People got very used to using a passkey on their phone, for instance, right? Makes life easy, Face ID or fingerprint or whatever. And using native account abstraction that we have in our tech stack, we could actually create wallets for people in a way that you would when you're logging into your banking application, for instance. What was really important for me is to study the behaviors that people have in the Web2 space, like how they interact with tech in general, with mobile apps, and then just fork that over into crypto, right? Because that intuition that people have is very valuable. And if you lose people's attention because their intuition is broken, right? You force them to use MetaMask or something like this, you just lose a lot of people. So it's just very, very deep focus on how the end consumer thinks, how they behave, creating experiences for them on chain that are lovely, that they enjoy, and then supplying them with things to do that I think general uh, consumers like. Right? Not everybody wants to do DeFi, for instance. It's a bit complicated, but
Tell me a bit more about those experiences. What does the ecosystem kind of look like for Sophon from a user side? What is available to them to explore? Because I've seen everything so far from gaming to event ticketing to betting and poker. Like, what kind of things can a user expect when they come to Sophon?
so there's I would split this down two different sections. One part is the stuff that Sophon is developing, like so my product and my engineering team are developing, and that's things like the Sophon account, for instance, which is just making the experience for the user on chain feel like they're using their banking app. So sign up with your Gmail account, with your passkey, and that links to everything afterward. That becomes your passport in a way. Then there's the loyalty program that we're building, which is again meant to reward users and to leverage some of our uh, tech infrastructures like the use of zkTLS, which we can chat about later, and that's just going to serve as like a social composability between the different applications which build on top of Sophon. Then there's the data hub, something again that we're working in using zkTLS to create social feeds on Sophon. And so all of those things put together are very important for the user experience. And then there's the applications, the different projects that are building with us up until now. And like I said, everything that's kind of like around the entertainment space, the consumer space, I think is very important. So there's different kinds of games. There's a ticketing company called Open. Um, there's quite a number of AI projects, namely Anomaly, that we're very excited about. There's Mirai. We're kind of like creating this new social financial app who are working with us. So yeah, there's a ton of different things to do, but the idea is always work with teams who really understand the way that we think and the way that we want to approach crypto and consumer, and have a very deep relationship with them, right? Like really embed their product into Sophon.
Interesting. What would you say are some of the most popular applications among users from what you guys know so far? Is that, within ticketing? Is that within gaming? Is that within DeFi and farming? Or what do you kind of notice from users?
So one of the top projects building with us at the moment, and one of our core partners is Aether. So Aether, have this distributed cloud compute, and they are, they also did a node sale like us, right? So they have a very large community, folks that are running this compute, etc., and posting these transactions on chain, and they've done something like 20 million transactions since we launched mainnet around a month ago. So very vibrant community. And then there's a whole bunch of different games. There's Pitopia, there's Animix, and those are like more mobile games that people just like to play. Smaller communities, but quite active. The users are repeating very often. Um, but my ambition is really to go further, right? We're always trying to talk to teams who are breaking the mold of like how crypto is used now and functions, and trying to think beyond like how can we change the status quo.
Also, from a developer perspective too, maybe how is Sophon different in terms of how a developer can choose to build on Sophon versus maybe a different L2?
So Sophon uses the zk stack, right, which is the code base that Matter Labs built. And for me, it was very important to have a partner engineering team that could have a very deep relationship with the partners building with us. So first and foremost, developers that are building with us they really have a handheld experience, right? Because I had this experience at ZK Sync where you're trying to onboard a ton of people. You want to have this ecosystem map with a ton of projects, and you kind of sign them, and then that's it. You can't really do the follow through because you don't have the bandwidth. So for us, it was about work with a smaller number of teams, but high quality teams that are aligned with us, and then really double down on the relationship with them and help them. And then there's the tech component. So there's the native account abstraction that's baked into the network that allows us to do a lot of things. We built a pretty sophisticated custom paymaster, for instance. What that means is you can sponsor gas on Sophon, basically. Right now, since we launched the chain for the first quarter, there's only Sophon paying for gas. So users have a completely gas-free experience, which is very much like a Web2 experience, let's say, which is nice. They don't have to buy USDC, ETH, or anything like this, right? They can just click buttons, everything works. And then protocols can also sponsor gas for their users using their own token, maybe our token, it depends. And then there's this deep focus on zkTLS. We can talk about it, which I think is also a big opportunity for developers because it creates a whole new narrative and opens a lot of new doors.
Yeah, let's talk about zkTLS a little bit. I know that you guys have shown quite a bit of interest in it. I know that it ensures verifiable private communication while maintaining data integrity. How does it, or how would it fit into the Sophon ecosystem and your guys' stack?
zkTLS is super cool because, take a step back for a second. The one of the one of the most important things in crypto, the building blocks of crypto, is DeFi. And DeFi exists in part due to oracles, right? Because you can prove prices and that sort of thing on chain. Um, what zkTLS does is it allows you to take the data from a consumer habit, whether it's your Uber account, your Ticketmaster account, your Spotify account, whatever, and verifiably prove that on chain, but in an anonymous way. And what that means is you kind of create these new data streams based on consumer habits. So it kind of behaves like a social oracle. And that's unbelievably valuable. And it's really not something that a lot of people are speaking about now. I've observed always that you have these paradigm shifts in crypto that always happen when you have a narrative that revolves around a piece of infrastructure that allows developers to do things, right? Whether it was pump fund on Solana, AI agents, um, NFTs, Telegram bots for sniping trades, etc. And zkTLS, I think, is one of the next massive narratives because it's going to allow people to just build using a new primitive, right? This new sort of social oracle. So I realized this last year in the summertime, and I immediately told the team, okay, let's become experts here, right? Let's do as much research as we can. Let's talk to everybody in the space that's building zkTLS, whether they're builders, researchers, venture funds, for instance, and let's create a community around this and let's become experts. And I really think that it's something that's going to be big in 2025.
Yeah, it's very fascinating in the way that it taps into multi-party computation. Is this something that came out relatively recently in the past year? Because I haven't heard much about it.
I think it just didn't have the attention of people because it's not that complicated in a way. You're taking you're plugging into APIs, I guess, or of Web2 companies, and you're extracting data. And the whole point is to be able to prove this data on chain without revealing people's identity or that sort of thing, right? And I think it's a pretty cool opportunity because it kind of behaves like a Trojan horse for the end consumer. One thing's for sure is anyone in the world, rich, poor, black, white, whatever, you give them something free, they're going to do it or they're going to try it out. And something like zkTLS enables you to tell, let's say you have a friend who's never used crypto before, right? Never. But everybody has Web2 apps on their phone, Ticketmaster, Uber, Spotify, whatever. And you tell your friend, hey, you can just log in to Sophon using the Sophon account with your email address or your passkey, and then you can verify your purchase history on Ticketmaster or music you've been listening to on Spotify, whatever. And then based on that, there's a reward waiting for you. Everyone's going to try this, right? Why wouldn't they? And then you kind of like tap them in and you can build all sorts of things around this: experiences, reward systems, loyalty programs. It's a great way to bring people to try things on chain, as long as the user experience remains the same that they've been kind of like used to the whole time.
Yeah, that's so much easier for users as well.
Yeah.
'Cause I think a lot of people in the space, we forget that people are still stuck in a Web2 mindset. And so it's hard to integrate into Web3 when people are looking for logins. They're looking for ways to just seamlessly connect everything to their accounts. I'm guilty of using my Gmail to log into just about everything these days.
Yeah.
But it's just so seamless and easy to click a button and have all your info and data in one place and not have to remember all these different types of logins or ways to interact with different things online. So I definitely think that's a really key thing that you guys are doing with Sophon. Another thing I want to touch on as well is I heard you guys are exploring an AI agent initiative as well. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about that and maybe what you guys are approaching in regards to an AI agent?
What we're doing is we're setting aside $1 million from our treasury to support AI agent adoption on chain. So we're going to incubate, we're going to advise, we're going to help with the deving, we're going to connect the right teams, etc., using our network, our VC network, my network. The AI, it's a little bit like electricity 100 years ago, right? Or the internet. It's not just something that is going to be on some chains, for instance. It's not like AI agents belong on base only or that sort of thing. I mean, every single business in the world is going to have an AI element to it going forward, right? Whether you're in crypto or not in crypto. And that just means that most things in crypto are going to start to have an AI element to it as well. And it's very important for us to obviously be part of the conversation there and to be on the front line. So that's why we came up with the AI agent initiative.
Do you have a vision for maybe what that's going to look like for Sophon? Were that to pan out a certain way? Like, do you want it to interact as like a bot when people come to Sophon, or is a way for them to interact with certain applications, or is there a vision behind that, or is it open-ended?
It's for me, it's very open ended. What I love to do, and what because I'm able to do it, thanks to the money that we've raised, our treasury, and kind of the flexibility we have, is to experiment. That's how you really make these these big aha moments in the space, and that's also where a lot of the value can get unlocked. So, I love going to talks, maybe experimenting with universities, talking to students, because they're always kind of at the forefront of the research and of creativity as well. One thing I think is a lot of people building in crypto who've been in this space for a long time, they're kind of tainted by this very crypto native attitude we have. And because we're in this echo chamber, everything is always you think of all your problems and solutions within like a crypto realm. But so it's important for me to work with people who are outside of crypto, because I think that's the people who are going to they haven't really been, their mind is not shaped around crypto yet. So they can think of things in a different way. And I think that's where it starts to get very interesting. And you just have to experiment as much as possible.
I know you guys also have a token, a SOPH token. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe that's utility? Is that a governance token? Is it more for staking, or how does that kind of fit into your guys' ecosystem?
The SOPH token, first and foremost, it's the gas token on the Sophon blockchain. So very, very simple utility and sync there. When we launched the network, obviously it's the gas token of the chain, so we had to launch the token as well. But we thought it's not that interesting to launch the token and list it and everything at the same day that we launched the chain. So what we decided to do is let's sponsor gas on the chain for everybody for the first quarter. So the token's been minted, right? The foundation holds it, but there's this completely gasless experience on the Sophon blockchain up until the time that we list the token. And so that's the main use case. Then part of the way that we raised our funds last year was doing a note sale, right? We raised 21,000 ETH, which was around $65 million at the time in April last year. And the promise was that everybody who participates in the note sale will then participate in the decentralization of the Sophon network. And as a result, will stream 20% of total token supply to those users. We're also building a staking component, because obviously people are paying Sophon and they'll be paying for their transactions. So there'll be a certain amount of profit, or like a contract that accrues the Sophon. So we've done a lot of work to create a staking element to it. We'll also be doing that with Avail, who's our data availability partner. We might factor in a burn mechanism, but I'm not so sure yet if that's necessarily a good idea. We'll see. There'll be a governance element to it as well. Obviously, as the network grows, you want people to be able to have their say in how certain things happen. So quite a number of use cases.
So what else might be on the roadmap for you guys for Sophon here in 2025? Obviously, we talked a little bit about zkTLS, we talked about AI agents. What else might be on your guys' timeline? Are you guys attending any events or conferences? Any new updates? Where do you want people to know?
Number one is I'm going to allude again to what I was telling you about earlier with regards to what we're building internally. That's what I'm really excited about. So it's the data hub, it's the loyalty program, it's the Sophon account, all of these things that the team is building. I'm really excited to push out, because everything's been built with such a conscious attitude towards design, towards product. And I think that's where we're going to really make the difference, right? Where we can show people something that they've never seen before in crypto, right? A user experience that's completely new. And the ambition is obviously that Sophon is one of the pioneering networks to onboard new folks on chain because the approach to design, etc., is very different. I think that storytelling and brand and identity is very important in crypto as well. It's clearly very important in the Web2 space, right? But in crypto, we're not really addressing this that much. So we're also going to be doing physical items. Um, we've produced one piece of merch already, which is was produced with a fashion company in Europe that will be releasing next month, which I'm pretty excited about. And then there's other products that I want us to be able to build on top of, right? So that Sophon really becomes a lifestyle company as well, something that people identify with beyond just the network itself. In terms of conferences, I'll be at Hong Kong for Consensus in February, and then I've got to move all the way around the world to Denver, which will be exciting. Denver is going to be a huge event this year, and then we're trying to kind of like keep the team focused. So we'll probably do something around ETH Lisbon in Europe. That's around May. It's an event that I like and usually attracts good builders. And then we'll have a presence at ETHCC probably, which is in Cannes in July.
Are you guys looking to attract more builders right now? Is that like the main thing that you guys are focusing on to keep growing and scaling and developing out?
100%. We're doing, we have a BD team who's back to back on calls and kind of like scouring different parts of our network to always uncover new projects that we could work with. Something that's pretty unique about Sophon is that it's a permissions chain. So only projects that we allow to work with us can work with us. You can't just go and deploy a contract on Sophon without being whitelisted. And the reason for this is because the goal is to work with end consumers and onboard new folks, you just can't take the chance of getting rugged, right? So I don't, because I've had this experience before, like when we launched CK Sync the first day, it's permissionless and some guys launched some honeypots, people lost money, and it's just an awful experience, right? And you don't want this for your user, and you don't want it for your reputation either. So we're always working with teams where we can have this very deep relationship, and we want people who are using Sophon to feel completely safe. Nobody's going to get rugged on Sophon in this way. So we're always looking at working with new teams. But again, I have this deep focus on experimentation. There's only one DEX on Sophon, for instance, right? You don't need to have 5 DEXs on a network. Like, you don't need it. There's one lending market. That's it. After that, I really want to focus on everything we can do to experiment how we can bring new people on chain. Like, what kind of experiences can we do? The big thing for us is going to be in gaming. Through the relationship, the very strong partnership we have with Beam, which was called Merit Circle before, we really try and bring the best kind of games on chain. Most people are trying to build crypto games. We're doing it the other way around. Right? We want to work with game developers, mobile game developers who have product market fit, who have an existing user base, right? It just works. And then slowly pivot their business logic to use crypto, whether it's for payments, rewards, owning items in the game, loyalty, etc. And I think that version of play to earn, if you execute it correctly, it's going to change the way the gaming industry starts to think about crypto. Because right now the gaming industry isn't a fan of crypto, right? They're not really keen on it. But you just need to execute things correctly in like a fair way where people aren't getting rugged and it makes sense in the game. And then I think everybody will start to want to do this as well, because there's a very symbiotic relationship between crypto and gaming, right? That's possible.
Yeah, it's a very interesting approach. I do like it that way because people usually do it the other way around. So, working with the game first and, kind of building out there makes a lot of sense. Are you guys looking to work with like smaller gaming studios and indie companies, or do you want to work with larger titles, or is there kind of a scope?
We're doing both. We onboarded and backed a couple indie studios based in the US, where I just thought the founder was great and the project looked awesome. One of them is kind of it's called Brutal Knights. It's a combination of chess and Clash of Clans, and people like Clash of
That
Clans
sounds
and
fun.
people like chess, right? So you can let's see what happens there. But the game is pretty cool. And then there's there's a couple like very large studios actually that we're working with. Um, One of them has a game. I can't say before we announce it publicly, but one of the games has been on the App Store for 5-6 years. They've done hundreds of millions of downloads. They've got millions of monthly active users, and the founder has been in the mobile gaming space for 20 years, right? So he's definitely a veteran, and he's convinced that play to earn done correctly is going to work, and he took it upon himself to build out the new version of this mobile game using crypto, and that's coming soon to Sophon. And I really believe that executed correctly, this will be the number one game in crypto in terms of users, in terms of transactions, and it could really set the stage, right, for other games to look after and say, hey, this works. We should do this too.
Yeah, that's really exciting. One thing I love about the gaming space in general is it seems to fit in very nicely into Web3. And it seems like a very easy way for users to transition into the space too. Like the play to earn
Mm-hmm.
model is one way to go about it. And gaming is already very addictive for people. So you plug in some kind of element for them to have an additional incentive to play the game or compete with others or to gain some kind of value from it. I think is, a very valuable aspect. And I think will onboard a lot more people than a standard, remittance crypto banking rail. Um, so I do really enjoy watching some of these different collaborations that we're starting to see between games and the Web3 space, and glad that you guys really do put an
Yeah,
emphasis on it.
for sure. Another thing that I should mention as well, because it is pretty important. So our partner Beam, they announced in December 2024, so a couple months ago, that they were setting up a venture fund in Abu Dhabi, and it's the first. It's built with Abu Dhabi, and the big fund. It's a $150 million fund, and the goal is to bring different kinds of Web3 projects to accelerate and incubate them in Abu Dhabi. And their partners for this are Sophon, and the other partner that we have is Aether as well. And I think that's going to be really exciting, right? Like once teams start moving there, once you start to put money in, and Abu Dhabi is very keen on creating a like a hub. That whole region in general, right? Like they're really betting on the future. They're trying to position their countries to be very future proof. And since they have such a deep interest in Web3 and gaming, it just made a lot of sense to work there and to start things there. So that's something which will develop in 2025 and beyond. And that's something I'm super, super excited about as well.
Yeah, definitely keep me posted on a lot of that stuff. Would love to, have you back on for maybe like a part 2 later this year with some of these developments start to pan out and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there's additional things to cover. I think that'd be very exciting for people to hear
Be
more
amazing.
about. Where do people go to learn a bit more about Sophon? If you're a user, how do you start exploring the ecosystem? If you're a developer, how do you get whitelisted? How can you start building on Sophon? Because I know it is permissioned. Where would you direct people?
Sophon.xyz, right? That's the first place that you should go to as a user. And if you're a builder, you should just hit me up. I'm 0x Sebastian A on Twitter or X, and just DM me. My DMs are always open. I actually get quite a number of DMs from builders, projects who want to work with us, and yeah, it's a great funnel for us. And we're always open to chat and work with teams and help them fundraise with our network, anything.
Awesome. Do you guys have a community on Telegram or Discord?
Yeah, we have a very big Discord community. We have a big Telegram community as well. On Discord, it's actually I
It's
forgot the
okay. We'll
actual
put it
name
in
right
the
now.
description if you want to send
Yeah,
me over the links.
yeah. TG and Discord is active. Discord is great because it's a very grassroots, organic bunch of people, right? It's no bots, it's no farmers because there is no like big airdrop that's happening for people just to use the chain for Sophon. The token is going to people who farmed our points and people who bought from the note sale. So people who are interested in Sophon, it's organic, right? And organic breeds more organic. And so yeah, Discord community is cool.
Awesome. Seb, this has been great. Really appreciate you taking the time today to talk about Sophon and things that you guys are working on. It's very exciting time to be in this space as well. So best of luck to you guys this year, and hopefully we'll see you guys again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.